Good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Welcome into 104.3 The Fans Coffee Break. D-Mac, Will Peterson, Rachel Beal hanging out with you. I already see the comments from Paul and Lawrence. Good morning to both of you. Thanks for hanging out with us here. You guys, we have to talk about last night because the Nuggets, what is going on with them? A 3-game losing streak at home against the Mavs, and they blow it. Will?
Yeah, I mean, listen, they were on national TV last night for the first time, and it felt like forever. It had been 3-4 weeks. So it was the first game a lot of folks in Denver had gotten a chance to watch, and it was kind of the same old Nuggets, right? Turnovers were a problem. Untimely fouls were a problem. Nikola Jokic not getting the ball enough down the stretch was a problem, although he did miss a key free throw. A collapse on defense that gave up ultimately the game-winning three. And then Michael Malone making decisions that weren't so hot because the Nuggets didn't have a timeout. So when Dallas misses a free throw with more than 4 seconds left, the best look the Nuggets get at the win is a 3-quarter court heave, right? So just a lot left to be desired from that game last night. And D-Mac, I know you were there. Mm-hmm. I sort of briefly touched on the big storylines, but what did I miss and what stood out the most to you?
Well, when Michael Malone called a timeout with about 5 minutes to go, listen, the Mavs were on a run. It got to like 9 points or something like that. I get it. But with 6.5 minutes to go, and you call a rage timeout, and you're only down by 5 or 6 points, and you're just, timeout, that costs you. And you can't go into the last minute of a close game and not have at least 2 timeouts. And it just was bad coaching management of timeouts. And you just see Malone get very frustrated and angry. And he did it our own Jake Shapiro, because he asked a legitimate question about Christian Brown, like, why wasn't he playing? And now why is he playing? I think that's pretty legit. And Michael Malone was like, because I'm the coach. I'm like, oh, well, nobody was doubting that. And then a little bit later, I think either he felt bad or maybe it hit him like, wow, I really sound like a jerk there. And he actually further explained that he is going to be, Christian Brown, an important part of their organization, and he's got to get important minutes. And he hadn't been, and he did get them last night. I don't have any problems with that at all. The issue, though, is Busy Bones Highlands was your best outside shooter last night. Yep. And he's not in the game in the final 2 minutes because of his defensive liabilities. Well, I don't know, man. And I asked Bones how he felt about it, and he's frustrated with it. Aaron Gordon was like, well, that's up to the coach. Jamal Murray was terrible. He was 0 for 5 from 3, 2 for 10 from the field. It wasn't his night. The ball ended up in his hands. They'd be better off putting Vlatko in. In fact, I'm surprised they didn't have Vlatko in. What was ironic is that the Mavericks did themselves better by missing that shot, because if they make the shot, Jokic gets the ball underneath the basket and can throw like a quarterback football sort of pass. Instead, the ball bounces to Jamal. He dribbles up to half court. I mean, the ball wasn't even close. He didn't get a pass off. He didn't get a good shot off. I mean, absolutely nothing. And you were in that situation. 1, the Mavs didn't make the free throw. And 2, you didn't have a timeout. You get a timeout, you have 4 seconds. The ball's at half court. I mean, you can do a bunch of stuff from there. So we had a weird game last night, guys. And the Mavs had just played the Suns the night before. They blew them out. But, guys, there used to be a time where teams coming into Denver on the back end of a back-to-back for them lost by 1 million. So you don't have Michael Porter Jr., and you're starting to feel those effects because Jamal's just not there. And I just don't quite get why you don't have Bones in there at the end. Because he sucks on defense? I mean, okay, he'd been sucking on defense, a good chunk of the game, but you need some scoring. I mean, I guess they could have taken advantage of him, but you needed some scoring late, and Jamal didn't have it.
And this is something that's been like a constant reoccurrence with Coach Malone, is that he chooses his veteran players over the hot hands. Like, I feel like we've had this conversation a ton where I feel like you have to go with Bones, right? You have to go with the hot hand. And that was Bones Highland last night. And so it was so frustrating not to see him out there in the last, 2 minutes of the game, Will?
Yeah, and I'll go full James Merrill out here because this is one of his favorite ones. But this will tell you that Malone has been doing this for years, to your point, Rachel. In 2017, they had a legitimate chance at the playoffs. You guys will remember they played Minnesota in the final game with the 8 seed on the line. And Michael Malone played Jameer Nelson over Jamal Murray because he was just stuck in this, I've got to play the veteran thing. When Jamal was the number 7 overall pick, he was up and coming, and he played Jameer. Guys, you know who Michael Malone is right now? And I just thought of this as we were actually talking before the show. Michael Malone right now is Jared Bednar last year. He has to get it done, or that seat is getting hotter and hotter and hotter. Because what do we all say about Bedsy? We like him, but if it doesn't happen this year, he's gone. Starting to feel that way with Coach Malone more and more, that this is kind of the year he has to break through, probably at least to the NBA Finals to save his job.
Well, I'm a long way. I know James is James, but I'm a long, long way. I like Michael Malone. I think he's a very good coach. I just think they're going through a pretty rough patch right now because Jamal's just not the same guy he used to be. I know what you're talking about, Will. And last night was weird, man. I'm going to tell you, because you saw Jokic and Murray on the court at the same time as Bones. Well, what's everybody's role in this situation? Like, who are we here? And I asked Bones about it, and he admitted it's kind of weird, because he's used to having the ball in his hands. And when he's on the court and he has the ball in his hands, everything is through Bones. But when Jokic is there, everything needs to go through Jokic. Right. And the two-man game with Jamal is a Jokic-Jamal sort of thing, theoretically, with Michael Porter in the corner. But when you have Bones out there, it's kind of like, what the hell's going on here? So I thought it was Bones played a lot last night. And I thought it was a bad sign that that Jamal actually came out early. I don't know if you guys caught that. But Jamal was the first starter that came out, and I was like, oh, bad for Bones. They're going to put Jamal in with the second unit more and try that sort of strategery. But I was way wrong on that. It was a combination that I wouldn't anticipate, where it was like Murray and Bones out there. And all of a sudden, I'm looking at the court, I'm like, holy cow, this is Bones Highland's team, not Jamal Murray's team. And we just have, guys, a very confusing situation right now. And a lot of it is because Jamal's just not where he needs to be. And they didn't play with them all last year. So it's like, I mean, obviously he's a great player, a great scorer, but how does this all fit? And the only way to figure that out is to play games. So I'm not giving up on him by any stretch of the imagination. But it was weird last night. And you did leave a guy in the game to take the last shot who couldn't throw the ball in the ocean if he was standing on the beach.
But don't you think the heat's getting cranked up on Coach Malone a little bit, D-Mac?
No.
Really?
By who?
Totally safe.
By who?
Say they flame out in the first round again this year. Is he the Nuggets coach next year?
It's you. No, Will. I'm here to report his standing within the organization is rock solid. There's zero, and I'm around there quite a bit these days.
I know you are.
There's zero indication that he's on the hot seat by the administration.
Okay, so say that they do get knocked out first round this year. Next year, then, is he on the hot seat if they can advance? I mean, you don't have much time with Jokic. I know he's obviously a phenomenal player, but eventually they can't withstand that. You can't withstand carrying a team on your back for so many years.
It all depends. How did the series go? Who was injured? Who wasn't injured? What coaching? I mean, listen, I'll tell you this. Okay, if you get swept out of the first round and you make coaching moves that didn't work out like last night, okay, sure. But that's a big what if type of question. But that would be a dramatic 180-degree swing from where things are right now.
And Jake Shapiro in the comments does point out Malone signed an extension in March, now secured to be on the job through at least the end of the 2024-25 season. So he is here.
I'm ripping. Contracts get ripped up all the time.
Listen, guys, we got a good coach. But listen, guys make mistakes. Guys don't have their best games. I'm not going to lie. It's an interesting time. They come back from a road trip. He calls for a practice, which is unheard of when you come back from a road trip to have a practice the next day. That never happens. He calls for a practice. 90 minutes before the practice, when the Muggles were supposed to show up, the practice gets canceled. They still have a animated film session, so they did go to work, but they didn't have a media availability practice. And then you have, a wacky game like last night. And now you have a 3-game losing streak. And it's not going to get any easier when you go to Portland. The only saving grace after this road trip to Portland, look at the Nuggets schedule. They do play a ton of home games. However, they play a ton of home games against some really good teams. So you don't have like a patsy sort of schedule when you get home. And last night was a great example. Dallas has been up and down, no doubt about it this year, but they arguably have the MVP this year in Doncic. And it's a very boring team. The Mavs, I mean, they're not very complicated. They doubled Jokic, and offensively, all they look for is, one-on-ones. They're not doing anything all that complicated. They're a long team, but there's no real other incredible players out there aside from Luka. But they just beat you on a back-to-back. And that's a game you got to win.
So, D-Mac, would you say then that the 3-game losing streak is on the players just not performing defensively to their best standards?
It's a combination of a bunch of stuff. I think Malone is gripping. Listen, here's when they beat the Rockets last Wednesday, and they're up by 20 with 5 minutes to go, and Malone throws all the starters in there. That doesn't go over well. I mean, what point are you trying to prove here? Especially because on Monday with the Rockets here, it was one of those home things. You were in that same exact situation in the fourth quarter, up by more than 20 with 5 minutes to go. The starters didn't play the entire fourth quarter. So what was the difference between Monday and Wednesday? And I don't know, man. I mean, you just kind of freaked out a little bit on Wednesday. Now you've lost 3 in a row since that moment. It's not good, okay? So we gotta. I'm not throwing Malone under the bus or telling anybody to get rid of him, but I can acknowledge when it's not good, and right now it's not good.
Well, and I want to make it clear real quick too. I'm not trying to fire Michael Malone. I'm just simply pointing out that I think, just my opinion, D-Mac's there, he's got his sources. I think the Heat's going to start ramping up on him a little bit, much like it did with Bednar and the Avs last year.
No, I'm with you, Will. I feel that exact same way. I feel like this is the time, right? We've heard this is the season. This is when things need to get rolling for this team. Does this just prove, though, how much they're missing MPJ?
Yeah, actually it does. I thought they would act because they had won I think they were 5-0 without MPJ for a little bit, but they were against bad teams. I remember having that conversation well, they're doing well, but we're beating some slugs here, right? Yeah, they missed MPJ last. They missed him for 2 reasons. He's just they did have KCP, Kenny Pope. I like him. But he's not as good as Michael Porter Jr. by a mile with that corner 3. Michael Porter Jr. in terms is one of, if not the best pure 3-point shooters in the league. However, we are in a league, guys, where everybody's a 3-point shooter. So it does hurt you when your best 3-point shooter isn't available and the other team has a bunch of guys who are going to huck it up too. So actually, yeah, I actually think it's a problem. Bruce Brown hit a corner 3, and I mean, it was a miracle. It gave the Nuggets a lead with a minute to go, so that was awesome. But trust me, he looked as surprised as anybody in the building that he actually made that shot. So, and Michael Porter Jr. is he's 6'11", man. He's a rebounder. He can get rebounds for you. He can work inside. Yeah, they miss him. They do miss him right now.
Well, and Vlatko played the first quarter last night, guys.
Yeah.
That did not go well at all.
That's
the end of that first quarter looked really bad. And I will give Malone credit because it was Christian Brown, the rookie, the rest of the way. It was Christian Brown in the second half. But if MPJ is healthy, Vlatko ain't seeing the floor.
Well,
so
don't forget, too, Jeff
hurt the Nuggets that stretch.
Jeff Green was back, too, for the first time in a few games. Mm-hmm. And he did go with more like Vlatko over Jeff Green. Listen, the story, the carriage has turned into a pumpkin on Vlatko. That's, yes. I mean,
he should not be in an NBA rotation. He's got a little Facu in him. He's a fan favorite. Fans want to see him. But was Facu Campazzo worthy of being on an NBA court? No, he was not. And I like Vlatko, and he can stay on the team, but he's not worthy of a spot in the rotation. And the end of that first quarter last night sort of set the tone of the Nuggets trying to scratch and claw back the whole way. And guys, they could never get all the way.
Here's what's weird. Why didn't Malone put in Vlatko with 4 seconds to go, knowing you might need a half-court shot?
Good one.
I mean, I'm not even joking on that.
No, I mean, what he did in Dallas was unreal. You're right.
I know. I mean, he is 6'11", and Jamal could have thrown it to Vlatko. I mean, I mean, this sounds crazy, but I'd rather have Vlatko at 6'11" try to take a half-court shot than Jamal Murray.
You're heaving it one way or another.
I mean, you're in trouble. Yeah, you're in trouble no matter what. But it was a moment of like, well, put him in now, coach. Oh, well.
I have a theory that it's a baby theory, but I think that Christian Brown is going to be what everyone hoped MPJ could be for this team. It's a baby one, but I just feel it. Like he's becoming just this star. But again, he's just like a little baby star. I just think it's going to continue to grow. And I think
he's going to be, he needs to be probably the second guy off the bench. He needs to be on a team like this, the seventh man and a stout defender. And they did put him on Luka, and then they put Aaron Gordon on Luka later because they couldn't get the fouls on AG. But they, and he did good. He did well against Luka, the best that you can. He challenged him. He got up in his face. So yeah, I mean, maybe an eventual starter for the Nuggets 3-4 years down the road. But he actually right now, he probably needs, in my opinion, he probably needs to be the second guy off the bench. I think Bones needs to be the first. Well, it's between Bruce Brown and Bones, okay? Depending on how they want to do it. Bruce Brown should probably be the first guy off the bench because MPJ should be starting. And then you do have KCP, and I don't know. You've got a little bit of a mess here, guys. You do.
I want to just preface, hold on, Will, which is why I say like a baby, like it's a baby theory. I think, in like 5-6 years, if they keep Christian Brown, I think he can be a really good player.
Oh, I agree.
No, I agree with that. I just think they're different kinds of players, right? I think Porter's strength is obviously his offense, whereas Christian Brown's strength is certainly his scrappy, and his defense.
Sorry.
Well, hey, Will knows scrappy.
I was going to say, what's so funny
he was born to it.
I'm sorry. I was going to cough there. I think it's interesting, but I've said this on record plenty of times. I don't think MPJ will ever be able to live up to the expectations because of injuries, it's unfortunate.
Well, that would be a real shame. Lots of natural talent there. And listen, man, to win a championship, you need your big guns to be firing. And he's definitely one of their big guns. I don't think you can win a championship without him and Jamal playing well. I don't.
No, I agree. Well, you know who else you really need when you need the big guns is the Avalanche needs Nathan McKinnon, and he is now out for 4 weeks,
wow.
Guys. Oh my goodness, this injury team. I mean, it's everything. Nathan McKinnon, upper body, will miss approximately 4 weeks. D-Mac, we touched on this just a little bit yesterday with Jake, but this is crucial for this team. I mean, losing somebody like Nathan McKinnon for 4 weeks when you already have so many injuries on this team, you're playing a really good Bruins team tonight. This is going to hurt. I think this is going to hurt the most of a lot of the injuries that they've seen.
I got to give Scrappy Will a little credit here. He must have a crystal ball somehow, because he said, Will, you got to be around 500 by Christmas and then we'll be okay. And I scoffed at it. Pshaw, I said to Scrappy Will, because certainly this team is only missing a couple of guys. They can certainly do better than that. I spit my coffee out when he suggested merely a 500 record would be okay. I'll pay anything for a 500 record at this point. I mean, I don't even a 500 record. You get a point ever, at this point. Now you are playing with a minor league team. I mean, you're playing kids versus dads, and your kids are 9-year-olds. They're giving up goals at a rapid rate, and I don't think it's because of bad goaltending. Wow. They just don't have an NHL team on the ice. So forget about the Stanley Cup champions. Guys, they don't have an NHL team on the ice. It's a bunch of young guy call-ups, has-beens, can't-do guys. We're even losing guys. Mm-hmm. We're losing dude. We lost Jason Megna to the Ducks. I mean, it's a mess there. So I don't even know what to say here. You are in a really rough spot. I think the best that you can hope for the Avs this season, seriously, get to the playoffs. Yep. Period. 8th seed, whatever. And then maybe by then you're ready to roll. But guys, this is going to be a brutal defense of the cup here. Not easy at all.
Yeah, this news broke last night, obviously, right at the end of the drive. And as Mason and I started doing our DenverFan.com PM edition, and we went through the lines, and I know Peter Baugh from The Athletic has tweeted out hypothetical lines for tonight. But guys, I feel like I follow the Avs as close as anyone, right? I didn't know who 3 of these dudes were because Andrew Cogliano, guys, last year was a 4th-line scrapper, right? Acquired at the trade deadline, 4th-line scrapper. He is now a first-line piece for the Colorado Avalanche. Think about that. We were debating Cogliano and Nico Sturm in the playoffs and, who's going to play 8-9 minutes a night and get you a goal. And now this dude is all of a sudden on your first line. Guys, tonight on the ice, they will have Rantanen, Makar, and Taves. And out of the big names, the big dogs, and we all know there was 10, 11, 12, who when they came by in their fire trucks at the parade, everyone went crazy. Landeskog, Nichushkin, Kadri, Burakovsky, list goes on and on and on. The 3 big dogs, and even putting Taves as a big dog, maybe a little bit of a stretch. Those are the 3 who are playing tonight. Makar, Rantanen, Taves. That's it.
Yeah, I saw Peter's line suggestions. Yeah. Who's Burke? I don't even know who he is. Seriously, who is he? I mean, I got Ranta, Bleed, Kaut, Ben Myers. Okay, I got him. Dryden Hunt. All right. But no, seriously, who the freak is Burke? Who's Burke?
I couldn't tell you, dude. I couldn't tell you.
I don't know. I go to every game. I follow it close. I watch every. Who the hell's Burke? I don't know who it is.
It's Cal Burke. Jake just let us know in the comments of the back.
Who?
Cal Burke.
Where did he come from?
Gotta be a call-up, man. I don't know. It's so sad. It's so sad for this Avalanche team. Also,
Cal Burke.
Is there any update on Alex Newhook? Because I can't imagine his face is feeling 100%.
Oh, put those lines back up there, Jake. Was Newhook not on there?
Oh, it's his NHL debut tonight.
No, Newhook's on the first line. All right, yeah. So here's Newhook. Let's follow the bouncing puck here. He got smashed in the cheekbone. He's lucky he didn't lose an eye. He scores 2 goals in the game. Yeah, jeez, good for him. Tough kid. You guys realize at the beginning of the season, Alex Newhook was barely on this team. I mean, they wanted him to be the 2C, but that flamed out in seconds. And they didn't know what to do with them. And we were all just sitting here like, well, all right, I guess you trade Alex Newhook for blah, 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 blah. He's on the first line now. You can't do without Alex Newhook. He's shorter than me, and he barely has an eye. Darcy Kemper thinks he looks bad.
Well, one of our most viral clips from Coffee Break was you and I debating Newhook, and I gave him a thumbs down and made a fart sound, and people got so mad at me for that. And now I'm like, we need Newhook. Go Newhook. Yeah. Thank God we have Newhook. Woo!
It is just crazy. I can't believe the injuries and how they have just piled up. But we do have some good news. I think Jake is going to make a graphic. Val Nichushkin is skating.
Oh, today. Yeah. That's good.
Boom. There we go. There he is out on the ice. That's a name that you love to see. D-Mac, I know you praised him earlier for the beginning of the season. But, yeah, I mean, this would be massive if we can get him back out here in the next couple of games at least.
Listen, Val wasn't just trending as to be one of the better players for the team. He was trending to be one of the best players in the league. He was in the first month of the season, probably the Hart Trophy favorite. He was that good. And I'm happy to see him. He's a workhorse. He works his tail off. What he did in the Stanley Cup Final should be remembered by Avs fans forever. And he was just awesome at the beginning of the year. So, listen, of course, the sooner you can get Val back, the better.
And you've seen Nichushkin skating. That's a good thing, right?
Yeah.
But Nichushkin and Landeskog, when they got back, they were supposed to make the Avs healthy. Now those guys are going to have to try to raise the Avs up again themselves. That's a lot to put on players who are just getting back. Nichushkin, you can't just come in and be okay. You have to be a superstar immediately. That's a lot to ask a guy coming back.
I can't believe Nathan McKinnon has an injury that's just or close to as severe as Sam Girard got in the playoffs. Right. That knocked him out for the entire. 4 weeks, guys. Dude, that's crazy. And I would guess 4 weeks is being optimistic too. Mm-hmm. So, man, that's really a gut punch right there, man.
And to go back to your point, Will, is, you're now asking them to be a superstar. Yeah, you're asking them to have chemistry too with lines that they probably have never been a part of either. So it's not like you can expect, complete and total greatness when they go out on the ice. Like, it's just going to be a build-up.
Oh.
So,
well, they're playing with Burke. Who's Burke? I don't know who Burke is.
You listen, you know what's funny? When you debut your first NHL game, the team allows you to go out and do a lap by yourself before the warm-ups. The Avs have done that so much this year, the ice is melting. So, I mean, the guys on the team must be like, oh, we got to do this again? It's his first game too? All right, go ahead. What's your name? Cal? Cal? All right, let Cal go out there and circles around. Like, we've seen this like 100 times. Guys, this is a nutty situation. And the Bruins are freaking on fire. The Bruins, it is wild that our two teams that we're keeping a lot of faith in, the Nuggets and the Avs, we're still keeping faith in them. But look to the East. The Bruins and the Celtics are doing what we were thinking the Avs and the Nuggets were supposed to be doing. Well, they're really doing it. They're both the best teams in their league. I don't know how the Avs don't give up 5 goals tonight. I hate to be a negative Nancy about tonight's game because on the surface it's really cool with the Bruins here in town. I don't know how the Avalanche win this game tonight. I'll love it if they can figure it out. I'm sure it'll be a raucous big crowd, but this is not set up well tonight, guys.
Nope, just like it's not set up well on Sunday for the Broncos against the Chiefs. Well, our very own Nate Jackson said on the Players Club that Nathaniel Hackett might possibly maybe be able to save his job if they beat the Chiefs. Take a listen.
I know a lot of people are already saying Nathaniel Hackett will be gone. If you go on a run, you find a way to beat the Chiefs a couple times, you may find a way to keep your job.
Yes or no?
Sure.
You beat the Chiefs twice. Something that hasn't happened in multiple.
Here's what I think is going on.
I know it's a hypothetical, but we're talking about a 1 in 10,000 scenario here, right?
Very true.
Yeah, I think Hackett is toast, period. Listen, I would move on from Russell Wilson, and I would bottom. Yeah. Follow me. Follow me.
How? I want to hear the how.
Oh, I would just eat it. I would do a post-June 1st designation to save as much money as you can, move on and eat it. I would hire I would bottom out and I'd go for Caleb Williams. That's my strategy. I'm in the Caleb Williams sweepstakes, which means that you actually have to finish last next year. And that is a miserable place to be. So I don't have any more questions for Nathaniel Hackett. I mean, I suppose I'll go out to the Broncos here in an hour or so and say hi to everybody, but I don't have any more questions for him. Do you guys? I don't. The only question I have is for Greg Penner, and what is the reason that you're keeping Peyton and Hackett? And I'd be done with both of them.
Okay, let's just start with the Russell Wilson thing, and then we'll get into the coaching stuff. How do you just eat it, though? I mean, truthfully, this roster, we've learned that this roster is not full enough that you can eat it and still get other pieces that you need.
Oh, you can't. That's why you lose. That's my point. You say goodbye to Dalton Reisner. You say goodbye to Draymond Jones. You bottom everything out. You move on from Russell Wilson, and you lose. You lose every game. You go 0-17 next year, and you draft Caleb Williams with the whole plan being, you're right, Rachel. You're not wrong. You're 1,000% right. Yeah, how do you do it? Well, you don't. You just lose. And it sucks. You're wasting money you're wasting money with Russell Wilson. Here's what we don't know. Will the Penners and the Walmart ownership want to waste money or try to make things happen with the money they've spent?
Here's my only thing on this is you're telling me that you're totally okay with just absolutely having a dumpster fire of a season next year with the possibility. I mean, is it even a possibility that you could be a little bit better with Russ than just a complete dumpster fire?
Well, yeah, that's what
that chance. And if he's
Rachel,
bad next year, then move on for sure.
Rachel, you're scaring the crap out of me. If you win 6 games, you're toast. You can't do it. 6 games. If you win 3 games, you're probably not in the spot for Caleb Williams. And for all the, pearl clutching, oh my God, the draft isn't perfect, all that sort of crap. It's like, hey, man, if you're looking for guarantees, I don't know what you're sniffing around. The best chance to win, they just have not tried to do what I've suggested for like 7 years. What can I tell you? So why should I change now? And if Caleb Williams I wish they would have a good shot this year, but they've already blown it. They're drafted at 20. All the good quarterbacks will already be gone. There's just zero chance for them to move up. If you want to just throw some dice, grab a guy in the 5th round or something. I don't care. If I bet you guys don't even know who they signed as a quarterback a couple days ago. Little trivia question. Do you even know?
I remember the text.
Yeah, I can see the name in my head.
Right. Jared Warrantano. Your answers are perfect.
That's right.
Who? I don't know. That's perfect. Because we weren't bold enough to just take a peek at Baker Mayfield. The Rams are, but, what do they know? Sean McVay is clearly an idiot with that mystery Super Bowl that he won. So the Rams did it, but not us. God forbid we do it. So to all the pearl clutchers out there, all the nervous Nellies out there, I say hogwash to your cynicism and skepticism. Bail it out. 0-17. I will be actively cheering for every loss the Broncos take next year so they can get Caleb Williams.
But D-Mac, you're also talking about a draft that is 16 months away. That's a tough sell to Broncos country.
Sorry.
You want me to sit here as a Broncos fan and say, you know what, D-Mac, I like your plan because I've been miserable for 7 years and I'm going to be miserable for another 16 months. That's a hard sell to a fan base that is already pretty fragile. And I don't know if Greg Penner and Robson Walton and Kerry Walton Penner want their new ownership tenure to be, we're now on a 16-month tank process. That's a long freaking time.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It is.
Too bad. What's your choice? Listen, just because
we're back with Russ next year and a new coaching staff.
Listen, guys,
that's my choice.
It's not my fault that I already know what the future is for Russ and people out there don't. Sorry, but the film, as they say, doesn't lie. He's not going to get faster. He's not going to get taller. He's not going to see the field better. None of those things are going to happen. I'll tell you this, the only way to win games with Russell Wilson is to Tebow it up 100%. Put everything into your offensive line and run 65 to 70% of the time. And maybe you can scrape out some close wins rather than close losses. But that's it, guys. That's it. And if you do that, you can take shots over the top, deep passes every now and then. But other than that, you're screwed with Russell Wilson.
Hackett has been an all-time bust as a head coach. All-time bust.
Plays
go down as one of the worst first-time head coaches in NFL history. So you're not willing to just give Russ one more chance with a whole new coaching staff next year and instead tell Broncos fans, hey, you're going to suck for the next 16 months, but maybe we'll get that kid from USC in the 2024 NFL draft.
Well, there's a path to 8 wins next year. That's 8-9. There's a path to 8-9, Will. I'm not going to say there's not. But that's it, dude. That's it. You're this whole championship window with Russ playoff thing, dude, ain't happening. Sorry. Because there's going to be way too many close games. And in all these close games, as we're seeing, you're going to win some, maybe, but you're going to lose a bunch of them as well. So, sorry. I don't mean to be a bummer here, but you're not even close to having a championship caliber quarterback, and you can't win without that. You at least have to have the possibility that could happen.
I would just like to see it one more year with a new coaching staff. That's all I'm saying.
Then you just missed out on Caleb Williams because you just won 7 games. Congratulations, Will. You win 7 games. Your award is the 15th pick in the draft.
Well, maybe I'll win 12 games next year, right? Maybe they'll win all those close games.
You're not.
And we'll be hosting our first playoff game since an AFC title game on the way to Super Bowl.
All right. So this is what we're doing here.
Grand declarations here that their ceiling is 7. I think their ceiling with the right coach is 12.
Oh my God, I'm exhausted. I'm wiped out from doing this for years and years and years. I mean, I just, if you don't have the quarterback, guys, you got nothing. And if you don't have a quarterback, you have to do everything you can to get a quarterback. That's it. You can trade for one, highly risk. The highest risk thing you can do is what George Payton did. Picking Patrick Surtain, Frank Schwab echoed my sentiments in his column today at Yahoo Sports. Picking Surtain over Fields was a disastrous mistake. It would have reset the Broncos in the right way and the rest of the NFL, which Schwab points out. It was a terrible move, which is on top of the worst move of all time, taking Bradley Chubb over Josh Allen. So, Will, great. Because we could get 12 wins. We're probably going to get 7. But, we could get 12. And then we're drafting who, Will? Who do we have for quarterback in year 3?
Russell Wilson.
And then what?
12 games.
And then what?
Probably Russell Wilson. He signed a 7-year extension here?
Yeah. Will, keep going. Keep going, dude.
I know Stink is here, so I'm going to let Rachel move on to that.
Good. And ask Stink about Justin Fields, because even though they lost, that kid is playing well, and Stink just called his game.
Okay, true. See, maybe D-Mac should just be the head coach of the Denver Broncos to just see what would happen. As always, Will, thank you so much for hanging out with us here on Coffee Break. But let's bring in Mark Schlereth as we go inside the game presented by Bet River Sportsbook. Mark, how are you today?
I'm doing good, Rachel. How are you?
Good. So D-Mac, I have to ask you because D-Mac wants me to. Justin Fields, how good does he look? Would he have been a good fit here in Denver? Give me all the details.
Justin Fields looks really good. He's an exceptional athlete. There's no question about that. And he's growing as a quarterback. There are still things on the table that have to be learned and that he has to be better at, but he continues to grow every week. And so, yeah, he really does look good. And, again, there's a path or a progress there. The thing is, you have to be willing to change what your philosophical approach to football is. You have to say, hey, we're okay with our quarterback running. We're okay with getting him outside the pocket. We're okay with designing 8 to 10 runs a game for our quarterback. We're okay with the RPO game. We're okay with, him pulling it and having some runs that aren't designed, but he runs the ball. So you've got to be okay with that and say, hey, we believe that he's going to be able to stay healthy. And he's not going to miss a lot of time and he's not going to take a ton of hits. And, and that takes somebody who has a progressive mind thought when it comes to playing quarterback. But I think one thing, and I'll give D-Mac credit for this, I think one thing that is trending in the NFL right now is these are the players that we're getting. These are the players that they're developing in the college game, and we damn well better embrace it because these are the quarterbacks that are going to become available to us. And I think you're seeing a mental shift there. And I think the other thing you're seeing is coaches saying, my quarterback who runs a lot, now Josh Allen probably takes too many hits, but most of the time when you're outside the pocket and you're running outside plays like the outside quarterback counters and things of that nature, you're away from you keep yourself away from harm out there on the edge. You see what's coming at you. And I've talked to multiple coaches now that say the hardest hit my quarterback takes is in the pocket. Now, sometimes he takes those hits in the pocket because he's not quite sure what he's looking at, why he's trying to go through a progression. But like anything else, that takes time. But I think you can mitigate some of that growth process by being able to be dynamic in the run game and doing all those things with the quarterback run. So there is a definite shift across the National Football League right now. And it's interesting to be a part of this. It's interesting to watch it and talk about it and see it firsthand.
It's a completely different NFL than when you play. Would you agree?
Interestingly enough, yes and no. I think that the things that remain are important will always remain important. And what I mean by that is controlling the trenches, being able to dictate both in the run game and the pass game. The routes and the route combinations, honestly, Rachel, there probably hasn't been a new route combination developed in 30 years. It's kind of tapped out. You get in 2x2, you get 3x1. There's only so much you can do. Where it's changed is that quarterback run game. That was never a part of it when I played. And the fact that the ball is out a lot quicker in today's game for the most part. You don't have nearly as many 5-step drops with hitches, or you don't have nearly as many 7-step drop passing game, the pure passing game, and then a lot more stuff out of shotgun than when I played. But the general part of this hasn't really changed all that much.
just the quarterback play, which is obviously a huge part of this game. But we'll get into this weekend. While we're expecting probably an ugly game for the Broncos, I would say. Let's go into 3.5 sacks on Russ. Over or under?
Wow. I'm going to go over.
Oh.
Yeah.
Mark.
Well, you want me to go under? Is that what you want?
I mean, to be honest, I think it's pretty split. I mean, he's had 37 sacks on the season, which is an insane number. It's honestly surprising he's not hurt more. That came out very weird. But regardless, I want you to say under, but I feel like I'm with you on the over. I just think that they're going to get to him.
Here's why I say that. Like last week, they spent a lot more time under center, a lot more time running play action, a lot more time doing things, play pass, which is, to me is, keeping a 6-7 man in. They spent a lot more time doing that, which, kept the sacks down to some degree. But you can do that when you're ahead 6-3 or 9-3. You can hand it off 27 times, and you can limit the number of times your quarterback drops back. So that was last week. I don't think they're going to stop the Chiefs from scoring.
Yeah.
So now all of a sudden you're down by 14, you're down by 17, and it's the second quarter. Now what? Well, now that's the green light to get in shotgun and let Russ operate, and and bottom line is, in those scenarios, he's been worse than bad. Whatever worse than bad is, you can fill in whatever phrase or adjective you want there, but he's been terrible. And in gun, man, he tends to see the rush, not the defense. He focuses on the rush. He tries to escape out the top side of the pocket, which he's not fast enough anymore to outrun defensive ends. He puts himself in a lot of harm's way, more than the offensive line even does. So, yeah, I think 4 or 5 sacks, 6 sacks, 7 sacks, 8 sacks, something in there is not out of the realm of possibility.
Oh, gosh, it could be ugly. You mentioned Patrick Mahomes, though, and not stopping this Chiefs offense. Over or under 2.5 touchdowns for Mahomes?
Over. I know the defense has been really good, but playing defense, there's a battle of attrition that goes on. And, there's a reason they give up late fourth quarter drives, because you can't, as an offense, go 3 and out, 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 or not produce at all and expect your defense, to go out and win games. There's a real complementary nature to that. And over time, you go through 4 or 5 games, and all of a sudden, because your offense's inability to keep drives alive, and I don't know if they're still leading the league in 3 and outs, but they were leading the league in 3 and outs a couple of weeks ago when I did their game. You put your defense back on the field constantly, and when you divvy it up, it was kind of like back in the day. I'll tell you a quick story. Back in the day when Philadelphia hired Chip Kelly, and Chip Kelly felt like, I'm going to bring the college game to professional football. And they led the league in 3 and outs because it was just throw, boom, out. Their defense averaged an extra 15, 16 snaps a game. So when you did the math on that, after a 4-game quarter, a quarter of the season back then was 4 games. After you've played 4 games, you've really taken the snaps of 5 games. So over the course of a season, a 16-game season at the time, you played 20 games, not 16, on defense because of all the extra snaps you had to take because your offense couldn't maintain or possess the ball. And Chip Kelly didn't believe that possessing the ball was important. Well, the attrition that happened to that defense, by the last half of the season, the last 7 games, they couldn't stop anybody because they were just exhausted. And so for the Broncos, You lay on extra 10, 15 snaps a game on a defense, and you know what will happen? Tyler Huntley will drive down the last minute of the game and score a touchdown because you're tripping over your tongue. That's what happens.
Yeah. Oh, that game last week. We've said it over and over again. You can't expect it to get any worse, and then it does. This defense, though, has been really good, and it's a shame that it's being put to waste. Mark, as always, appreciate you hopping on. What game you got this week?
I am in Seattle for Carolina, Seattle.
All right. Oh, that should be an interesting one for sure. All right, Mark, as always, appreciate you going inside the game with us.
You got it, Rachel.
All right. Yeah, Mark Schlereth. He's always got really good stories. You guys, DMAC's coming back in. His history of the game is so impressive, DMAC, that you always learn something when you talk to Mark. And I'm sure you're happy that he gave you credit where credit is due, huh?
All I know is football experts, Super Bowl champion, and DMAC was right. That's
that's all you need to know.
That's what I heard there. And listen, it's been tough for some guys like Mark and Mike Evans and some of these other people who have been slow to the party to realize what's going on. Things have changed. The CBA, the contracts have changed. The money has changed. The salary cap has changed. The rules of the game, Rachel, have changed. And so is success in college football. And so you just don't find ready-made quarterbacks that you would find 10 or 15 years ago. And whether you like it or not, to not accept the reality of the situation or to think that you're going to get a quarterback in some magical other fashion is just that. It's a magical other fashion, and it's high risk. Everything I'm advocating, Rachel, is the safest, most conservative approach to success. And I'm just asking the Broncos to replicate what's been done by the vast majority of teams in the NFL. Sadly, in this particular case, because you had two amazing chances in the past 5 years to do the right thing, and because you whiffed twice, you've got to tank out. And you've got to tank out because you've got to move on from Russell Wilson, and his contract is fireable. I mean, the fact that George Payton did this contract and brought it to Greg Penner, and it's not working out, that is high risk, high reward, Rachel. And because you look that bad, because it's gone so poorly, I'm not trying to be mean and fire people, but you were just wrong, really wrong. And you were wrong to the degree where I don't know how Greg Penner could trust George Payton's judgment in the future. I questioned it in 2018 with Elway, and I certainly questioned it loudly. Nobody was a louder critic. I wrote about it again during this past summer, and I got railed for it. People hammered me for it. But I haven't changed my opinion for 1 second about the draft in 2021. And then you want to know why I beat that dead horse? I don't want to see them repeat it again. I don't. So I guess this is the hill that I die on, because they simply put me there and they can't knock me off yet.
Listen,
I haven't been wrong yet. So if I'm not wrong yet, prove me wrong. Draft a quarterback. Use a different strategy. Develop him and center everything around him.
I've seen at least 4 comments, though, saying, DMAC, you're right. So it's interesting. Jake did point out, though, if the Broncos designate Russell Wilson a June 1st cut, they can move on for $39 million dead cap space this offseason.
There you go.
$1 though. Oh my gosh. Trading Matt Ryan handed the Falcons the largest dead cap hit in NFL history, just over $40 million. If the Broncos cut Russell Wilson at the start of the 2023 league year, the dead cap would be $107 million. Oh my.
Yeah, that sucks, man. That's why but Rachel, thank you for that. And that is exactly why you have to bottom out. Because you're taking such a hit on the cap space.
Yeah.
The only reason to justify it is to bottom out. No contract for Dalton Reisner, no contract for Draymond Jones. You just play a lot of young guys and you hope you get them some experience. You stay on cheap contracts, and you really do hope the fan base understands what you're doing. They will if you make it clear what's going on. And once you fire George Payton and move on from Nathaniel Hackett, Greg Penner, hopefully, knock on wood, brings in Peyton Manning or somebody else. I like Peyton, but you bring in somebody else and they make it clear when they designate Russell Wilson, they get rid of him. They are literally going to be able to stay there and say, hey, guys, you understand this is a 2-year process just to get going. And we need to do this. We need to reset all the way. And if they do it, the fans aren't going to be thrilled about it, especially after this horrendous stuff that we've been through, Rachel. But you know what? They'll understand. They will get it. And then you're going to be very clear. Hopefully it's Caleb Williams. And if it's not Caleb Williams, you got to look for who's number 2 in that particular year in 2024. I want Caleb Williams, but I'm not against another quarterback as well because you don't have any other choice at this point.
You're still making a gamble. And this is a conversation I actually want to continue, but you're still making a gamble. Look at Baker Mayfield. He was the number 1 overall pick. Look at where he's been now. It's still a gamble 100%, but we're going to leave it there because tomorrow we're going to continue this conversation. It'll be myself, James Marilat, and D-Mac. Make sure you come hang out with us 10:30 a.m. for another edition of Coffee Break, and we will see you guys later. Bye, everyone.